which means that you have other great powers and models and political and cultural and models emerging, not as a small thing, but as something in front of you. And and the only mode we have is we want to defy them and to defeat them and to beat them and to erase them.
Yeah.
Which is childish. It's completely childish.
Hello, everybody. This is Pascal from Neutrality Studies, and today I'm talking to Dr. Caroline Galacteros. Dr. Galacteros is a former French reservist colonel and geostrategist who taught strategy and ethics at the Écoel de Guerre in Paris, and she is currently running her own YouTube channel in French called Paix, that is War and Peace in English. Madame Galacteros, Caroline, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, it's peace and war. Not war and peace.
Yeah. Paix, peace and war, because peace should always come first.
Yeah, for me, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And that's actually what we want to discuss today. But before we go into the grand scheme of things and world politics, let me ask a little bit, since you're sitting in Paris, how is the French political system doing at the moment now that you've just disposed of another prime minister and the new one is in? And what's the situation at the moment?
Yeah, I'm afraid I need to say we are in a real quagmire, I would say, in English, because it's, the political situation is completely deadlocked, and our president has, there is no government. So it's about to come, it's about to appear, but nothing is happening, actually. And as you may know, the economic situation is not very brilliant either. And not speaking about our positions on the international scene, especially concerning the Ukrainian war. The Middle East, it's a little bit different, I must say. I'm okay with the coming declaration of President Macron about recognizing the state of Palestine, even if he's doing that certainly not for the good reasons, but for political internal one. But at least it's time. It was time to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's good. But concerning all the rest, it's awful.
Yeah. So what led to the political deadlock, actually? Why is it that the prime ministers are being forced to resign time and again? And maybe can you also explain what, in that case, the power of the president is? And, is it easy to just appoint a new prime minister all the time? And what's the role of parliament in that case?
The Fifth Republic in France is a very special regime, very special form of republic. So in this shape, in this form, in this regime, the power comes to the president.
Yeah.
First and foremost, yeah. And of course, especially in foreign relation matters, of course, and defense matters also. But so he has the power to do practically what he wants. The problem he has is that he doesn't have any majority, because it just put in pieces in 2017 when he came first to power. He put the whole political landscape in France into pieces, and now you have all this party, former left, former right, far left. So everybody has ambitions, of course. They don't want to reunite to be stronger all together, except on the left.
Yeah, Mélenchon.
Mélenchon. Mélenchon plus the socialists, plus the communists, plus. But on the right, it's completely, devised. It's divided. And so for him, it's easy because he can play one against the other all the time, and he can change the people because the people doesn't matter in the French balance of power. You know, the prime minister is not so important. The prime minister is running the policy the president asks him to run,
Yeah.
and normally he has a parliament which allows him to do that.
Right.
But in that case, there is a contradiction because the parliament is completely exploded.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why. And probably it's also, I must say, it's terrible to say that, but I must say it's easier for Emmanuel Macron to have the present situation because nothing is evolving. He doesn't have anything to do finally, and that's why he's moving towards the foreign matters, towards the great world, if I may say.
Yeah.
Because there he can be what he wants to be.
I mean,
And
talk is also he
nobody
cannot
can give orders.
he cannot run again, right? I mean, this is his last term in France, so he must have his eyes on the next position, which must be in an international institution. But so, and in a sense, now the current situation in which the things are blocked as he as the opposition is divided, he doesn't need to care very much about being like a internal revolt within parliament, although the parliament can revolt against the prime minister, and they do so. They cannot seriously harm him, and he doesn't really want anything at the moment from parliament. That's the thing, right?
Exactly. I think you perfectly understood.
But that means France is deadlocked. Nothing internally will fundamentally move for now, and Mr. Macron is going to be on the world stage and leave France behind.
In a way, that's what is so concerning for all the people who care about the country, which is my case, of course, not only on the international stage, but yeah, what can I do? What
No.
can I do? Yeah.
So maybe let's look a little bit now at this international level, and how do you evaluate Emmanuel Macron's and France's role in the Ukraine war? And I know we belong to the same critical onlookers, but how did France interact with Ukraine? And maybe also if you go back a little bit more than just 2022, I mean, there has been an evolution as well. And we all remember that it was Hollande and Merkel who in 2008 actually were not in favor of promising NATO membership to Ukraine. But both Hollande and Merkel let it happen. Maybe you can speak to that a bit.
Yeah, it's right. There has been an evolution. There was a time probably around 2000. Yeah. I think the shift in the French position on the global international stage started with Nicolas Sarkozy.
Yeah, Sarkozy, not Hollande. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarkozy. So it's around 2007-8.
Yeah.
Then it started to move, to shift. And it shifted towards America and towards a total alignment on American orders and American masters, indeed.
Mm.
That's terrible to say, but that's the truth. So then we started to refuse, to decline the possibility we had as an atomic power, as a permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations. We had the ability to imagine our own foreign policy, a little bit at least. We did it concerning Iraq war in 2003. We were still able to ask simple question. Where is our national interest in doing that, in following that path, in, drawing this policy instead of this one? In 2007 and 8, as Mr. Sarkozy came to power, it was finished. He aligned the country completely on an American policy, American desiderata, American, and of course, British will. And then, it was too late, because then the events took a different path. And of course, from the Russian point of view, the attitude of the president of Russia also evolved. There was the Georgian War. There had been the first attempt to regime change in Ukraine in 2003-4 with the Orange Revolution, so-called. And then you had the Libyan War, you had Syrian War, you had all that, which is for me the big beginning of the crispation of the empire. And we were just proxies for that, especially in Libya, but also in Syria. And then concerning the Eastern Front, I would say, so the Ukrainian case, we just had to renounce, to forget we could make our own decisions and just to follow the others. And the others were very simple. Just push, rebuild Ukrainian forces. And after the Maidan coup, and after the start of the civil war in Ukraine between the separatists, Russian-speaking people, and the Ukrainian nationalists, just to align with NATO, to align with what America wanted, and America wanted Ukraine in NATO. That's all. Just to be on the border of Russia, just to threaten more, to take the advantage.
Yeah. But again, like France used to be the country that put a little bit of counterweight. And, it's the only country that ever suspended basically NATO membership. I mean, not completely, but it's the one that said, like, we're out for a moment, but long ago. Yeah. And like Mr. Sarkozy in 2008 was not in favor of promising NATO membership at the Bucharest summit of NATO, but then they gave in. And Mr. Hollande and Ms. Merkel, they were also working on the Minsk agreements. And right now, both of them said they just wanted to buy time. But I don't entirely believe them. I think they also use that just as a way to say, like, look, we want to be on the good side with everybody, right? Currently there's just I read it also as an excuse, because at the time, the Minsk agreements were well designed and a pragmatic way forward had they been kept. They were never kept. So what is your assessment of this policy period of the Minsk Accords, in which France was a pivotal part of building that structure? And we know the Russians wanted this, right?
Yes, but, France was, in my opinion, France was already instrumental. France was just a tool. France was a big country, okay, or medium-sized country, as you prefer, but who put his credibility in the joke, in the, comment est-ce qu'on peut dire ça in English, in the masquerade.
Yeah. Okay. So
because Minsk was a masquerade, of course, because at the same time we were training Ukrainian forces in NATO. All NATO members, all NATO countries. The Ukrainian army just didn't fall from the sky, out of the blue, from scratch. No, We build it. We build it. We France, we America, of course, British, Poles, everybody, for years in NATO structures. So the move was really conceived during the same years that we were negotiating and trying to implement officially Minsk agreements, which was not the case. Even monitoring it, it was not possible. So,
Do you think that, or did you, from your discussions also with your colleagues in the security, cloud, the security part of France, right? I mean, this is a group of people, and you talk. How much of this was understood at the time that this kind of policy might lead to war down the road, and how much of it is actually really, how many people in France actually believe that Russia is that mortal enemy that is about to march into Paris, and how many people know that it is this NATO push to the east that makes this kind of war now inevitable?
I think in the military field, in the military, yeah, in the military, globally speaking, everybody with a common sense, a little bit of culture, political and historical culture, and of course, a little bit of experience also, since at least the end of the Cold War, can understand that Russia was not an enemy, was not, didn't want to, because that's the big mistake, but it's not a mistake, it's a lie. It's a Western lie to say from the beginning, and now it's beginning to be useful from a point of view, the Western point of view. From the beginning of this conflict, we say Russia wants the totality of Ukraine. Russia wants to seize Ukraine, all the territory, all the land, and then Russia is threatening Europe. And then Russia is able of marching, of course, in Europe towards our capitals and every. So this is complete. Sorry, but this is complete bullshit, I would say, and lies certainly. And we are auto-convincing ourselves with that for years, which allows us now that it's obvious that we lost our push, we lost this war militarily. there is nothing to win on the military point of view for the Western countries in Ukraine. So the war is lost. And now we can say, aha, look, Russia wanted the totality of this country, of Ukraine, and she will stop. We stopped Russia by our pressure, by our determination, by our will, by our common, strengths, and blah, 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 blah. We stopped them at the end of the 4 oblasts, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Luhansk, Donetsk. So they will only retain 20, 22, 25% maximum of the Ukrainian territory. So it's a big victory. It's a big victory. No, it's a complete defeat from what we had in mind.
Yeah,
of course. But we have to sell it. We have to sell it to our people.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that Vladimir Putin understands all that for a long time, and that he would be even ready to say to follow that narrative, to give us this false victory.
I mean, if the thing about the Russians, I think, to understand is that if something happens, or if they can bring something about that helps them to get something they want, they will go along with it. Which is why he is happy to go and talk to Donald Trump, not because he's being rehabilitated, not because he's back on the world stage, no, but because he believes that this is a way forward in order to achieve a political goal. So if he's convinced that giving the Europeans the stupid narrative will help in whatever way, then yeah, I mean, the Russians have long given up on trying to impress the Europeans. I do think we are a lost cause. I mean,
yeah, that's true. I would be more cautious about. It's not one or the other, because for Vladimir Putin from the beginning, for 25 years now, uh, uh, it's very important to have this negotiation, this link,
yeah,
this level of relationship with the United States. No,
yes,
of course, not with the Europeans,
yeah,
but with the States. That's the right level for him.
yeah,
So he knows that Europe doesn't count. Europe is following. Europe is vassalized. Europe is just a tool
yeah.
in the hands.
It,
Europe is under control.
yeah, it must be
Even
pretty clear. The Americans can help end the war. The Europeans, the only thing they can do is stand in the way. But if the US decided this is going to be ended, then it will be ended. The question is, like, how do you get to that point? But it's really sad I mean, Europe did a lot of bad things over the years, but one of the things that we could do is help the process, and we're not. We do the opposite, aren't we? Like, collectively, including the Swiss.
that's completely stupid, completely foolish, and really very sad, of course. And you know, from our point of view, to wait in the matters,
Yeah.
to wait on the international scene, Europe should do exactly the contrary. Europe should encourage peace. Europe should stand in the middle, but for the best, for helping, and when Donald Trump came back to power and had this first very short, unfortunately, period of wanting to do something, wanting to re-engage with diplomatically with Putin, we should have just stand with him
Yeah.
and say, okay, and especially France, because we don't have, historically speaking, France as a, I would say, in France we say vocation. We are there to be a balanced power, a non-aligned power, and the best parts in our history, the best period of times in our history, concerning credibility, influence, and power, were when we were courageous enough to stand for own point of view and to say, no, we think we must help, we must bridge, we must be a bridge, not a wall. And in that case, in the Ukrainian war, and presently and for some years now, we are just, following. We were following like kinders,
Kids. Yeah.
children. Sorry, children. The Biden administration, and now we're following what is left of the Biden administration in the Trump administration.
Yeah.
So it's always the same wave. The neocon wave, the deep state wave, all these interests, which are not interested at all in peace, but in war, because it's making money.
So one of the explanations we have to kind of understand why Europe is following so blindly comes from colleagues who study these transcontinental networks, the think tanks, but also the schools and the scholarships. And Mr. Macron is a wonderful example of somebody who grew up in a transatlantic network, also in the business network, just like Mr. Merz and BlackRock and so on, and there's different layers of that. So the interests of these elites, these political elites, is divorced from the interest of what the rest of the continent more or less needs, especially like people who live and cannot like suddenly escape to New York, right? Do you have any other explanations to yourself why it is that this middle ground, this idea of also strategic autonomy, which after all Mr. Macron used to talk about, is now has such a bad connotation in Europe, right? Standing in the middle, like Swiss neutrality or Ukrainian neutrality, is constantly being regarded as, oh, you cannot do anything, when in fact it helps you guard your own peace, right? Why is it that we are in Europe now looking down so much on standing your own ground?
The notion of European sovereignty, European strategic autonomy, all that, it's big, big, big lies. Okay, so we raise the political elites raise that because it makes us a little bit more sexy, I would say, now glamour. Okay, but nobody is fooled by that, and especially now, because we just made an agreement. And Ursula von der Leyen just made an agreement for the European Union with the states concerning economic links and tariffs, which is absolutely terrible for European economy, but also promising billions to buy what? To buy American armaments to help Ukraine. So the reality is that we are so lost in that war. But we raise the concern of being something autonomous and something powerful as Europeans. That Trump said, okay, you want to be autonomous? Okay, take the Ukrainian baby, take care of it, but with my armaments, please. Otherwise, you won't have any part in anything. Okay, so it's 100 billions, 200 billions, whatever I need. You will buy my armaments through NATO. You will give them to Ukrainian. If you want to fight, you can fight, but I won't put one boot on the ground. I will just give you some great hugs, okay, before leaving you on the ground against Russia, and at the same time, I'm trying to take care of American interest by making big deals in energetic fields with Russia, because that's also on the table, but not for Europeans, of course. Europeans have been cut from their cheap energy flow coming from Russia by the history of course, of Nord Stream. And now we will pay, I don't know, 3 or 4 times the previous price to be what? Not to be autonomous, to change to change our dependence from the one from Russia to the one of the United States. That's all. So they take us back under very, very sharp and close control, political and strategic and energetic and economic control. And we're happy, but we need an excuse. So we say, we need to be strong, we need to be autonomous, we need to do that. And they say, okay, but with our weapons, please. Okay? So buy F-35 for tons of money and no real quality, in my opinion. But yeah, that's comment est-ce qu'on dit? C'est un jeu de dupes. Comment on dit ça en anglais? It's a
game of of intrigues.
Yeah, you cannot win.
Make believe, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, but it's interesting that they let this happen, and yes, a lot took place in the last 30 years, but again, like it's hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that 1975, the Europeans actually pushed very hard for Helsinki. The Europeans tried on both sides of the Iron Curtain, actually, to push the Soviets and the Americans into somehow agreeing. And 75, the Helsinki Accords were a huge achievement for European peace and stability. And of course, nothing was as perfect as it was, but it was a very large process. And the Europeans also pushed for that. And all of that is radically out of the window, radically gone. It's really, I cannot find a moment in history when the Europeans were that dependent on foreign powers, maybe with the exception of the height of the Second World War, of what happens in Europe, and they could not manage their affairs even a little bit. I just wonder how we best understand this dead end that we put Europe into. Really, we're back against the wall.
Yeah, but it's because of ideology. Because we don't want to assess realistically, pragmatically the situation.
So what's the ideology about, actually? What's the European ideology? Is it transatlanticism? Is it globalism? Or how would you call it? What grabs
it's
Europe?
globalism, certainly. It's globalism, certainly. So the state level doesn't matter anymore, except, of course, for the United States. But on the European level, in France, everybody says, "Oh, but France is too small. Without Europe, France is nothing. France can do nothing. France." So you have this this jingle every day. We can do nothing except in the European level, shape, format, and which is a great excuse for the politicians because they don't have power anymore and they don't want to decide because it's dangerous to decide. It's you can become unpopular. So now the great excuse is, Europe wants, Europe needs, Europe is the right level, Europe is okay. So en France we call that la défausse européenne. I call that la défausse européenne. So the politicians are happy with that, with Mrs. van der Leyen, because in the end, they don't want to take decisions. They're not courageous anymore.
Yeah, but on the EU level, you also cannot take.
So we have this. You just make the great machinery working. You're just trying to say we are much powerful, much more powerful when we are more numerous. So please, let's enlarge more the European Union, which for me is a contradiction in the terms. Okay, the more you are, the less powerful you are.
Yeah,
when you are states,
Yeah.
when you are states. So we have this fantasy of delusion. We dilute the states. We dilute the people. We don't speak about people anymore. We speak about population. Okay? We don't speak about national territory. We spoke about les territoires. Les territoires.
Territories.
So, yeah. So even the idea itself of a country with a sovereignty, with an idea of itself, with an idea of its national interests, which can be, of course, comment dirais-je, allied with European directions, but not always, not on everything. You're not obliged to. It's like a marriage. You're not obliged to fusion, everything.
To give yourself completely up, you still remain an individual at the end of the day, even if you're part of the club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't have that anymore. We give up ourselves.
But I mean, isn't at the end of the day, as sad as it is and as weak as it makes Europe right now, in a perverted sense, it's actually part of what some bureaucratic elites in Europe can use in order to expand their power, right? When we see that power grab constantly, we see how, the war in Ukraine broke out 2022, the enlargement of the war. And then Ursula von der Leyen just says, like, from now on, European airspace is blocked to the aviation from Russia. It's like, sorry, excuse me? when did the European Union become like responsible for the airspace of the member states? That's not their thing. But she just announced it, and the others followed. We see it now with the sanction questions, where the center keeps pushing it down the throats of everybody, and we see it with a lot of little examples where we have a power grab from Brussels, and in this sense, like deluding the individual states. Actually, even though it makes a weak Europe for now, some people probably see that as an opportunity to build a stronger center, don't they?
Yeah, yes, of course, because there is this idea that federalism is the natural end state for Europe.
Yeah.
So we should become the United States of Europe.
Churchill already said that in 46.
Yeah, yes, of course, but
yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's a great idea. I don't want personally. I'm not feeling the same as the others.
I don't know. I don't know how to say, Caroline, but every single time the Europeans want to create one single, political entity, it usually ends in very bad tears. We've tried 3 times over the last 200 years. Napoleon once, and the other 2 times it was Germans, and it wasn't a good thing. It never really worked.
Not really. Not really. Yeah, if you see the results, it was not a good thing at all. And then we have also this stupid ideology, which is Manichaeism. So the good versus the bad, the white versus the black. So people, even smart people, even the people who run the country, are more and more starting to think like that. So they want to be always on the good side. On the good side.
Yeah.
So you are building the enemy, you are demonizing the enemy, you are completely, and in the end, you don't see your adversary as he is, but you see him as an evil.
Yeah. But
and then everything is possible. You can do everything. You're fighting against evil.
Yeah, no, but the weird thing is that in the past, Europe actually had the military power to back that Manichaeism up and do incredible horrible things, especially in the colonized world, right? Especially in Africa, South America. I mean, horrible things, and that was possible because military power was there. Manichaeism plus military power. But now we still have the Manichaeism, but no more military power. What does that lead to now? I mean, again, within the strategic community in France, people must understand that this is rock bottom also when it comes to military power. What is the discussion in the circles in Paris at the moment?
There is no real discussion except in between realists, which I'm part of. But we are we are an end.
Yeah, tiny.
Not so many. We're not so many. So there is a comment dit-on, dissonance cognitive.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. So yeah, there is. That's exactly what you are explaining. It's we don't have the military power to support our imperialistic mind and will, and just to expand our influence. So it's also, for me, it's also a reaction to what I call the global shift of power for 15 years in international relations, which means that you have other great powers and models and political and cultural and models emerging, not as a small thing, but as something in front of you. And and the only mode we have is we want to defy them and to defeat them and to beat them and to erase them.
Yeah.
Which is childish. It's completely childish. It's not the way of doing. But I must say also that the level of skills of our politicians, even of our analysts, of our intellectuals now in France, but I'm not even speaking of the media, of course, but is terribly low, because ideology has taken all the room, you
Right.
don't need to think anymore. You just have to stand in the right position on the right side of the history.
But at the same time, we still see a need and a thirst, intellectual thirst for proper analysis. I mean, your countryman Emmanuel Todt is a good example, who writes very lucid books, and they sell a million times, right? So people want to read it. People understand we are in deep trouble. But
People, not elites. People.
Yeah, not elites, people. So in a sense, we know that on the ground, a lot of people actually understand that there are these problems, but the system is still such that it just the onslaught keeps coming. But can we already start preparing, once this stops? Or what do you think can we do in order to kind of ease the pain once once the wine goes away and the next morning comes?
Well, it's nice. What could we do? Yeah, certainly there is a divorce. In France, it's obvious. In France, between the common people, and that's also why I could, myself, which I'm completely under the radar. I'm not looking for anything, and still I have a kind of echo, a kind of popularity, a kind of people are listening to what I'm saying because I'm speaking truth, and the need for truth, the need for honesty is enormous. Is enormous. And the divorce between these elites and the people on every level is widening.
Yeah.
So what to do now? Probably to stick also to each other beyond borders. So, for example, I would love to interview or to speak or to be on the same stage as you, as Jeffrey Sachs, as Mesheimer, as Glenn Deason. We should put a lot of energy. That's also something I said to myself, because I'm not doing it enough. To be in contact, to publish, to emerge. There is, of course, a ceiling, and there is a media problem, because I was invited before 2022 in every single media in France, public, private, left, right, everybody on different issues, on Syria, even on Russia. But for 3.5 years, they don't want to hear what I have to say. And I'm not saying, I'm for Russia, I'm against. That's not the case. They don't want to hear the truth. Reality is not a good product to sell.
No,
You're selling delusion, you're selling lies, you're selling fantasies, you're selling everything but truth, but the truth. So, yeah, we should unite.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's totally right. I mean, the problem is, and I seriously think we need to think of Europe as drunk, dead drunk, drunk on its own power, on its own past, and but it's completely, utterly already. I mean, it's going to hurt very much. So the best thing we can do is to prepare the aspirin and the band-aids. But this drunkenness is not going to go away. I mean, it's at least for now. We're caught in a delusional state, and it's gonna hurt. It's already hurting. I mean, Ukraine is an example of how much it can hurt if you lose yourself. And I'm not even blaming the Ukrainians. I'm blaming the Euro-Americans who made that happen. This is
the Ukrainians. It's they were also tools. The people of Ukraine is completely they're used by their runners, by their politicians, and of course by us. Of course, by all the Western.
The amazing thing is just that, a lot of these things happen out in the open, including, of course, Joe Biden bragging about firing the chief persecutor in Ukraine. It's not even that hidden. I mean, some things we don't know. The CIA operations we only learn about much later. The shooters in Maidan we only learn much later because of research, Ivan Kachanovsky and others. But some things happen out in the open, and it's just fascinating that we are still not able to put one and one together, at least in the larger scheme, and also and in the public media. So that's something to work on as well, I guess.
Because we suppose that the public media are independent and fooled themselves,
Right.
but they're not. They're not. They're proxies too. They're part of the system.
Yes.
They're just working for the system.
Yes.
So it's not like if they knew, they would have said something else. They would have done something. No. They know. Of course, they are fooling themselves a little bit also, but they don't want to change. They start inviting me 5 minutes, and then, ooh la 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 la, Galactéros on the stage. Oh my God.
Yeah, but it goes hand in hand with losing the ability to holding these discussions, right? Of actually investigating, because at the moment in Europe, we're at the point where if you don't agree with the mainstream narrative, you're called names, Putin apologists and Russia lover and stuff like that. Like really kind of the most childish stuff. But it's a symptom again of this being drunk. Otherwise you would have the discussion.
Exactly. But that's a big problem. It can be also a little bit dangerous and certainly so disappointing. So yeah, the only thing to fight against that feeling is of course to unite, to help each other, because otherwise yeah, we are very alone, very, very more, even if we're right. If you don't want, if nobody wants to hear you,
yes,
nobody wants to give you the floor, to give you, then you're feeling alone more and more, and in the end, and that's the goal, because they are a big team on the other side. So in the end, you just disappear.
Yeah. Then again, they only have a lot of money. The big team is actually on this side. I'm still convinced. Most people want peace. They want peace. It's quite simple. And then some people can be convinced that war is peace, but at the end they still want peace. So, but
yeah, exactly. But the issue is also, because I think you, me, others, we are convincing a lot of people, but people who wants to know, who wants to understand, who wants to take the time, who are very simple people, who understand that there is a disconnection, a dissonance between reality and what they're taught,
Mm-hmm.
or what they're told. And so they make the effort to go on YouTube, to follow some programs, to understand things differently. But the issue is to reach the big numbers, the people who are standing every evening in France at 8 o'clock at LCE, and they're just they're just hearing for 1 hour of lies.
Yeah, and
Not only on Ukraine, I must say.
yeah, and one thing is, like, I think in Europe, in most European countries, we even more than in the US and even more than in other parts of the world, the power of the evening news, the news, is overwhelming. These broadcasts reach millions and tens of millions of people, and that framing, that's the one that then is basically the standard of people's reference frames, right, for what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And they want to be reassured, and of course, to be on the right side is reassuring.
It's nice, yeah.
You know, otherwise you are just you are considered as an awful apologist of Putin, or I don't know. So it's very complicated. Even in a Parisian dinner at high level with high level people, I would say, social, intellectual, high level people. If you're starting to explain something, they don't want to have explanation. They want to stay in their certitude, in their beliefs.
But I still wonder about this thing, which is that it must be clear to anyone who works in this field or who thinks about this that nobody goes to war thinking I'm probably wrong. Nobody does that, right? Everybody goes to war thinking I am right, right? And so the question is always, how do we check whether we are right? And especially for the Europeans. I mean, and the Germans are an obvious example, right? But also the French with, like, the war with Algeria, the colonial wars, and so on. I mean, there should be so many historical examples where also in France it is clear, well, sometimes we thought we were on the right side, but turns out, oopsie, we were not. We were part of a very repressive, anti-human rights horrible regime that was responsible for hundreds of thousands or millions of deaths. But why does that not translate into current mentality of questioning ourselves?
Look at the Middle East.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Middle East, it's a big example of what you're saying.
Yeah. We think we are supporting the good side by supporting the ones who do all the killing and all the bombing and the destroying of the genocide of an entire people. Yeah, that's true.
Incredible. It's in front of our eyes all day long, and we still are not able to just stop 1 minute and make 1+1. It's so obvious what is going on, so obvious.
Yeah.
But no, it's not possible because we have all these filters, all these ideological filters and moral, so-called moral, because that's the fun. That's the fun also, white is wrong, white is black, right is wrong. It's Orwellian. It's really the contrary. You're looking at lies and you think it's truth, and so people are also, and I'm sure it's quite on purpose. They are complete disorientated.
Yes. Yes.
Because in the end it's too terrible. What we are seeing in the Middle East right now going on. I mean, in Palestine, it's so terrible, and still, all the powerful people are an idea, have an assessment of the situation, which comes to impunity. So for the people, in the end, it's okay. It cannot be wrong. I must be wrong.
Right.
I must be
It's too
because
complicated. I don't understand it. It's so complicated. I can't understand it. Yeah, right.
too complicated and too impossible. It's like it's too awful.
Yeah.
So the idea is if it was really what I think or what I see, all these people couldn't stand just quiet and say, "Oh, please go on, do what you
Yeah.
have to do. It's good. It's for the best."
True.
That's
It's
the problem.
the whole situation makes people. I mean, there's an element of incredibleness. Like, actually, not it's not possible that it is like this, but then it's part of selling war and destruction. Um, Caroline, like this was very interesting, and I'm very glad that there's good analysts in France everywhere. So uh, people who want to watch more of your show, they can go to YouTube, where you publish mainly in French. Is there another place where you publish regularly where people can find you?
Yes, I'm running a think tank,
Hmm.
which is called Geopragma.
Geopragma.
So it's so yeah, and but even for my YouTube channel for Paix et Guerre, so peace and war, all my shows, when I'm inviting people or when I'm speaking every Wednesday and every Friday for the special members, it's you can have it translated. You have translation in German, English, Italian, 5 or 6 language. So it's easier even for non-French speakers to follow. So please come.
I will put the links to your think tank and also to your YouTube channel into the description of this video below. And Caroline Galacteros, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was nice. Thank you. Interesting.